Hello everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's Speakers for Schools virtual talk. We're delighted you've been able to join us. This session will last for around 45 to 60 minutes and will include a presentation from our speaker before we move to Q&A with viewers. Questions can be submitted throughout the duration of the talk via the Q&A function, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. Submitted questions will be reviewed by our moderators, and when approved, they will appear on the live question and answer thread. Not all submitted questions will appear on the live thread. This is to avoid duplication in questions, but rest assured your questions will have been received. Questions can also be submitted on Twitter and Instagram using the hashtag SFSVTalk. That's SFSVTalk. I'm now delighted to introduce you to today's speaker, Karl Jones. Karl is a bilingual multicultural communications professional and a grad student. He is recognised globally as an authority on advertising and has won over 500 awards and recognitions for his creative work. The media such as BBC, The Telegraph, BBC Mundo and Televisa interview Karl on publicity, fake news and its effects on society. And Karl has kindly joined us today to discuss fake news and how to spot it. Over to you, Karl.
Great, thank you very much. So hello everybody, and welcome to my talk today on fake news. And I just wanted to thank Speakers for Schools for the opportunity, and thank you all for taking your time out today to come and listen to me talk about fake news. So this is my name, Karl Jones, and this is how I spell it. And yeah, I come from an advertising background and communication, and I currently teach at the University of Westminster, advertising and public relations. So this idea of fake news really interests me because I'm in advertising, I create visuals and information. And so it really interests me how fake news is created. And that's going to be the term today, fake news. Fake news can sometimes be referred to as junk news, pseudo news, alternative facts, or hoax news. But what is fake news? Well, if you research the word fake news, you will see things like what I'm going to show you now. Fake news is not a term many people used 2 years ago, but it is now seen as one of the greatest threats to democracy, free debate, and the Western order. As well as being a favorite term of Donald Trump, and he's the president of the United States, it was also named 217's Word of the Year. So, fake news consists of deliberate disinformation or hoaxes that are spread through print and broadcast news or online media. So basically, fake news is a lie. It's something that's not real, and it's shown across different medias. Now, one thing I want to let you guys know is that I am not going to be spreading fake news today, and one way that you can know this is by, at the bottom of my slides, you will see small little type. And what that means is, and what that tells you is where I got my information from. So what I'm being transparent with you. And the definitions that I gave you from fake news that I've just given you came from two sources. One was from the newspaper The Guardian, which is a well-respected source here in the UK and around the world. And the other one was from a famous academic researcher. And one thing I would like you guys to understand is news, when it comes from sources like the BBC or the Guardian newspaper, is that many people have looked at the piece of information and made decisions on it and have decided to check it, to fact check it. So news that you see from reliable sources like the BBC have been checked before they're put online, versus social media, which is anybody can publish on social media. You can write something right now and publish it, and it has not been checked. So I'm going to be showing you some examples today. So what I'd like to do before we start is, do you know of any fake news stories? Think about that. Think about some stories that you have heard, maybe have seen on social media or heard people talking about. And then through my lecture today, you can, you know, look at the types of things they're going to be talking about and then decide whether the stories that you have heard, are they fake or not? Look at this story here. Do you think this is fake? A dog, right? You know that sometimes students say to their teacher that their dog ate the homework. And what I'm showing you there is called a meme. And memes are bits of information that are consists of a headline or type and an image. And Facebook, but in this case, somebody has turned it into fake book because there's a lot of attention with that social media network now that it is spreading a lot of what is called fake news. So, you know, what is fake news? And, you know, look at images like this. You know, we look at that and it's obviously exaggerated. It's obviously that dogs cannot ride motorcycles. And this image has been doctored. And also this image here. Cats do not go to the movie theaters, sit with 3D glasses on and eat popcorn with their paws. However, this type of image, yes, we do believe it. We do believe that somebody has put a bandana on that cat. So we're already filtering, and when we see images, we do know whether they're real or not. But sometimes there's news or images that we're really not sure about. So what I'm going to be talking about today is help giving you clues on deciding whether what you're looking at or hearing is real or not. But first, let me put this question in front of you. Is exaggerating the truth ethical? Is it right to, you know, show pictures of two dogs sitting on a bike, riding through the countryside? So I'm going to look at some cases that have happened in real life. In America, there's a magazine called TV Guide, which consumers or people in America would buy at the store every week, and it would tell them what's on the telly. And there was a cover, and on it was Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah has been very vocal and very open about her weight and about, you know, her diets. And this cover appeared and people were questioning, wow, they'd never seen Oprah look so slim. And then it was discovered that it was the body of Anne Margaret, who was a famous American actress. And this was the actual picture that was done. And then Oprah's face was cut out and placed on top of somebody else's body. And that was put on the cover of a magazine, leading people to believe that this was actually Oprah Winfrey's body. So, you know, that is evidence that not everything that you will see on something that costs money is necessarily true. Now, think about this. We've all looked at commercials. This is a quarter pounder hamburger from McDonald's on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side is actually what happens when we go to McDonald's and buy the product. I used to work for McDonald's for 10 years, and I did pictures for McDonald's, and they have books telling people how to do their pictures. And McDonald's would argue that this is the same ingredients that are in the burger that you buy in the store. It's just that these are the freshest ingredients and they've been placed perfectly. And what McDonald's would argue is that, you know, how we as humans, we, you know, may get up all groggy in the morning and our hair's really messy, but then somebody's going to take our picture. So then we would fix our hair and wash our face and look good for the camera. And McDonald's is saying that is what they do for their hamburgers. So let me ask you, how many of you do your hair or fix your clothes before getting your picture taken? So what I'd like to do now is look at technology. Technology is very exciting, but when technologies are invented, people take them and then use them for different purposes. And in the world of communication and media, that technology can often be used to create fake news. So let's take a look at this technology here, and I'm going to show you a video.
My fellow Americans, this is not President Trump. This is Charlie Warzel from BuzzFeed News. And the future, I can assure you, is extremely terrifying.
Whoops. So what's interesting about that technology is that right now they can film somebody's face, and they have technology that can read the muscles on somebody's face and superimpose it, or take that information and put it on somebody's else's digital version of their face. And what you just saw was a TV announcer having his muscles being read and moving the digital face of the President of the United States. Of course, that technology, if taken by the wrong people, could be very scary, because you could look at the news and see somebody talking and think that it is actually the President of the United States, when it isn't. It is fake. So we have to be aware of that now, because technology is getting very, very good. In China, what they've started to do is they have created the first artificial intelligence news anchor. So that is somebody who reads the news. So let's take a quick look at the artificial news anchor reading the news, and just be aware that this news anchor is artificially generated in a computer.
Hello, everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency. My voice and appearance are modeled on Zhang Zhao, a real anchor with Xinhua. The development of the media industry calls for continuous innovation and deep integration with the international advanced technologies. I will work tirelessly to keep you informed as texts will be typed into my system uninterrupted. I look forward to bringing you the brand new news experiences.
So that is very interesting for a number of reasons. One is, when you look at it without me telling you that it is computer generated, you think that's an actual person. And then also what is coming out of the news anchor's mouth. You think, oh, that's a person saying, reading from a script, and it is not. Words are typed into a machine, and then the artificial intelligent news anchor in China reads the news as if it was a real person. So just think about that technology applied to actors, applied to people in an advertising commercial. Think about it applied in other areas. So again, technology is getting so good that it's often hard to understand what is real and what is fake.
Hello, everyone.
So let's take a look now at the history of fake news. Fake news is old news. It is not a new concept, and Donald Trump did not invent it. We had a king here in Britain, King Charles II, who in the 16th, in that century when he was around, Charles II didn't like the fact that there were coffee shops around Britain, specifically in London, where people from the middle classes could get together and drink coffee and talk about what they liked and didn't like about the king and the government. And what Charles II said, and he issued a proclamation to restrain the spreading of false news that was helping to nourish an universal jealousy and dissatisfaction in the minds of all His Majesty's good subjects. So even a king over 500 years ago was very suspicious of people talking, and he accused them of spreading fake news. So again, the idea of fake news is not something that is new. It is an old concept. If we look 80 years ago to the wars that were happening, and it was World War II, and in under the Nazi regime, what the Nazis did was they used the media to convince the German people that Jews were the problem behind the German depression, which means there was issues with banks and money, and some people were not having jobs, and so the Nazis blamed the Jews. And of course, this was fake news, and it was a fake news that convinced millions of Germans that Jews were bad people. And of course, we discovered this after the war finished. So again, that's an example of how fake news can damage society. So that was 1939. What about now? Well, when President Trump in America was inaugurated, which means that he won the election, they have a day where he's sworn in at the White House. And there were images of the people that went to see him at the White House, in front of the White House, get sworn in. And there were numbers that were given by the media, such as the New York Times, which were very different than the numbers that were given by the Trump administration. And in the press, there were two pieces of information. One that was given by the White House and the Trump administration that said the numbers were a lot bigger than what the New York Times and other media like The Guardian said, and the BBC. And what the White House said to defend itself was that they had alternative facts. They had other information that the BBC and the New York Times didn't have. So that is a very interesting sort of scenario, and that is when President Trump started talking about the fake news. When people didn't agree with what he was saying, he said that he had alternative facts, and they had other facts, and what they were doing was fake news. Now let's look at advertising. Advertising surrounds us. It's part of our society in where we live. And, you know, when we go walk to school, when we go in the tube or on the buses, when we go to the movies, when we go to the shops, we see advertising, and when we watch TV. And what I'm showing you is a poster. And this is for a store that sells clothing online, and the store is called Pretty Little Thing. And they did this poster here. So what I'd like to ask you is, what do you think the price of the dress is worth? How much do you think the dress costs? So I'm assuming that you all have an idea in your head. Well, let me show you what happened. The actual cost of the dress is £35, but see where that arrow is in the lower corner, the blue arrow? And it's small type that says dress shown £35. But what the human eye sees when we walk past the poster is the letters £8, and it says shop new from £8. So the consumer believes that the dress costs £8 when in fact it doesn't. So my point is that you need to read advertising very carefully, because not everything that you read, everything that you read sometimes can be misleading. Now let's move around the world, and let's go to the country of Malaysia. Malaysia is by Singapore and close to China. And the government there, the Ministry of Women's Affairs, did an advertising campaign that told women during this pandemic, when they're home with their husbands, to wear makeup and to stop nagging their husbands. And they did that through social media. And here's an example of one of their ads where they're telling women not to nag their husbands. And then in another ad, which I'm showing you here, they're telling women to dress up at home and to wear makeup. Now, these ads caused a lot of controversy because women felt that the ads were offending gender stereotypes. It was telling women that they had to wear makeup when women don't have to. It's just sometimes society dictates that, and tells them that they nag their husbands, which means that women nag. Well, men can nag too. So the campaign was deemed offensive in Malaysia and was against women's rights. Here in Britain, we have an organization called the Advertising Standards Authority, and what they do is govern advertising. So that very first ad that I showed you of the dress that was £8, but really it was £35, the ASA received complaints about that ad, and then they made a decision on that ad and then asked for it to be taken down. So in the United Kingdom, we have organizations that protect us from false information. And they have just produced, well, a few weeks ago, on the 13th of March, a coronavirus advertising responsibility, so that when we see ads that are related to coronavirus, they have to be very carefully worded, specifically in the categories of medicines or food. So they don't want people to be saying false things through social media and their advertising. One thing I want to remind you is that you can use the chat button on the screen to ask questions that I will answer at the end. So now let's look at this thing called conspiracy theories. And a conspiracy theory is an explanation for an event or situation that invokes a conspiracy by sinister or powerful people, often political in motivation. So what that means in regular English is that a conspiracy theory is an invention, and people invent this story so that they can benefit, and often it is done with political motives. An example of that is the moon landing, when the man first landed on the moon. And some people said that that was fake, and they said it was a conspiracy. But certain people who were high up in the world faked the moon landing so that they could benefit. Of course, we know that's not true. We have pieces of the moon that were brought back by Apollo 16 here in London at the Natural History Museum. And another conspiracy theory that's happening right now, there are a few, is through COVID or coronavirus. And a lot of these stories are being spread through social media. And I've got a news article here from The Guardian. And there is a story that was going around about this new technology called 5G. And some people were linking the technology that sends information to your mobile phones, saying that that was causing coronavirus. And some people believed that conspiracy theory and set fire here in Britain to some 5G telephone towers. And of course, that is very bad because we use telephone towers to communicate. And that affected quite a few people around our country and in other countries around the world. So, you know, that's an example of a conspiracy theory that causes harm. There is research that was done here in Britain by Oxford Reuters Institute looking at the spread of 225 false or misleading claims about coronavirus and discovered that 88% of these claims have appeared on social media, compared with 9% on television and 8% in news. So social media, we know now, is a way to spread fake news. And as I told you at the beginning of this talk, it's very easy for somebody to write something, write a post in social media, and then press send and spread it. There's nobody there to fact check. Also, there's another channel called YouTube, which many people use to look at videos posted by celebrities, fun clips of cats. And this is one person called David Icke, and he had a channel and he was spreading misinformation about coronavirus. So that channel was taken down, and this was reported by the BBC. So that is evidence that social media realizes that it is being used and abused by certain people who want to spread fake news. And some of those news channels are taking power into their own hands and stopping those people from having a voice. And let's go look at another type of information that's being spread. This is in India. And in India, in the news, what they've been saying, again, this is fake news, it's not real, but they're saying a cure against coronavirus is drinking cow pee or urine from cows, which is terrible to think about and horrible, but that was people were thinking. And here we have a picture of a guy drinking cow pee to cure coronavirus. Not true. And then on Vice News, which is an American news outlet, they were reporting that on social media, people were sharing news posts that drinking warm water with a slice of lemon in it can save your life against coronavirus. So one thing I think is important that we realize that when we like or when we share some information, we are helping giving that information a voice. So when you're looking at information on social media, think twice before you like it or share it, because sometimes you're sharing fake news and helping those people spread lies online. So is fake news just news? Well, no, it's not. You know, like, I don't know whether you guys buy things online, but I'm sure that maybe your parents or your older brothers and sisters or uncles and aunts or grandparents do. And when you often buy things like on Amazon, which is like a big department store that's available online, underneath the products, there are reviews. And these reviews apparently come from people who have bought the product, and then they talk about whether they like it or not. Well, what we've discovered is that a lot of those reviews of products are not real, and they are fake. And there are companies around the world, some of them are in India, where companies pay people to write fake reviews. So what Amazon has done is, if you look at my slide, you will notice that, see down here, this is a verified purchase, which means that it's a real person who bought a real product, versus other reviews which are not verified, which means that this person did not buy the product. So that's one effort that Amazon is doing to try and stop these fake reviews from people who have not bought the product and are not saying the truth. Here in Britain, we have a company called Which, with a question mark at the end. And what they do is they review products. They are a company. Some of my students who have gone to a school with me at the University of Westminster have now worked at Which. And they are a company that reviews products and write reviews. So you know that if Which has reviewed it, their review is from a verified source. And I think that's a common thing that I'm talking about today, verified sources. Who is saying this information? Where is it coming from? Also on social media, many people are on Instagram. I know I am. Instagram, I think, is terrific. And I follow celebrities or famous people, as well as following my family and friends. And there is a famous British Instagrammer or influencer, and his name is Scott Disick. And if you look here, you will see the text that says, let the Lord be with you. Here you go, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, write the below caption. Keeping up with the summer workout routine with my morning at Booty UK protein shake. So this guy, Scott, basically got an email, copied the whole email and placed it as a caption on his Instagram account without editing it. What he should have posted was just this, but he posted the whole thing. So then if you look below, what we discover is that people that followed him realized that he was paid to say what he was writing about and about this protein shake. And he really didn't use the product, but he was talking about it as if he did because he was being paid. And what happened was that people were not happy. Then they screenshot it, and then they used another social media like Twitter, and then more people saw that Scott copied and pasted the email from a skinny tea marketing team onto his Instagram caption. And then Scott lost credibility and people stopped believing everything that he posted because they felt that he was not being real, he was being fake. There's another Instagrammer called Scarlett London, and this is a picture of Scarlett in her bedroom, and of course everybody's bedroom looks like this, with balloons everywhere and perfect, eating strawberries on the morning. This got quite a few people upset on the internet, and what they started posting was is this anybody's typical morning? Instagram is ridiculous lie factory made to make us all feel inadequate. So all my point is that when you're looking at Instagram, please realize that these are not the celebrities or people's real lives. They are constructed. They are fake. They have people there for hair and makeup. They have people to make the bedroom look good for photographic shoots. So again, a lot of what you see on Instagram, some of it is very real, but some of it you have to question because it doesn't reflect reality. So one thing that we do in Britain is that in social media, when influencers are talking about products, they have to declare. So when you're looking at posts on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, there should be hashtag ad, promotion, hashtag advertising, hashtag paid for, or in the text they should say this is a paid partnership. That way you know as a consumer that you're looking at something that the influencer has been told and paid to say. So now let's look at something where you're allowed to say fake stuff, and that's April Fool's Day, which has just happened a few weeks ago. And I found a very interesting social media tweet from a police force. And what they tweeted was, in an effort to keep officers and the public safe in these unusual times, we will be making arrests remotely from now on. Offenders will be asked at a distance to stand while our latest invention applies cuffs. Obviously, that was a joke because it was tweeted on April 1st, and it shows a drone with handcuffs below. So this was obviously a joke taking advantage of April Fool's Day. In the world of advertising, some brands create fake ads, and I'm just going to show you some ads that were created by brands. So this one was done by Whopper, and Whopper created a chocolate Whopper burger. And of course, that was a joke, and a lot of people responded and thought it was very, very funny. And that, again, that ad is only shown on April 1st. Here is another ad that ran on the website, and let's just take a look at the video.
Behold, the time has come to declare the crowning achievements in the world of bacon. Level 1, bacon. Level 2, carbonated bacon. 3, spreadable bacon. 4, lather up. 5, naming your offspring bacon. 6, second mood. 7, permanent bacon. 8, honey, I love you bacon. 9, oh, this little old thing. And bacon level 10, a bacon. Now, what could possibly top bacon level 10? Why, it's none other than bacon level 11. Scope bacon for breath that sizzles.
Very funny, that ad for a bacon flavored mouthwash. And again, that just ran on April 1st. So it is not real, and it was just done as a joke on April 1st as part of April Fool's Day. So how is fake news created? Well, there's a thing called retouching, and I've just got an example here. Where there was a famous person called Jim Jones, who was a cult leader, and then somehow Hillary Clinton, who was Bill Clinton's wife, who was the president of the United States a few years ago, they superimposed her face on top of his body. So that is what retouching is when you use mechanical methods to change an image. Here's another example, and you may have heard the word Photoshop. Photoshop is a software that is used to enhance and improve photographs, or create these types of images. And here, you know, what somebody showed on social media was what looked like a pilot from an airplane flying a plane, taking his selfie using a selfie stick. But of course, that is manufactured, and that was done using Photoshops. Here's another one of a guy who's in the mouth of a shark taking a selfie. Obviously, that is fake. But these images do look very believable. And again, that's technology. Technology is allowing people to create this fake information, this fake news, these fake images. Also, how is fake news created? One is Photoshop, and the other is there are areas in the world where people just dedicate themselves to making fake news. This was a story from the BBC, and it was discovered that there was a small city in Macedonia. Macedonia is a small country in Europe, and there was a small town there, and the people were writing fake stories. And these stories were around and about America, and it was during the election around 4 years ago when Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were competing to, you know, become president of the United States. And it was discovered that in this town of Veles, they did a lot of pro-Trump political news, featuring headlines like Hillary's illegal email just killed its first American spy, and this is how liberals destroyed America. And what this means is that, you know, why would people do fake news stories? Well, the way the internet works and a lot of social media sites are that if you create a story and then people click on that story, the more people click on it, then advertisers want to advertise on that story. So when you see, you know, you visit a Facebook page or you visit a web page, you will see advertising appearing. So those people that get ads appearing on their news stories get paid some money. So there was a cash motivation for those people to create these news stories because they're shared around America, and then those people in that town will make money from the advertising used that is placed around those news stories. So again, you know, there's proof that there are people that are creating fake news stories, but their motivation was money. And another piece of information that we found in our research is that 66% of Facebook users obtain news from Facebook, and they read mostly headlines. So that means a lot of people are not seeing the BBC or reading The Guardian. They're using just Facebook to get their news. And then I've just shown you how some of that news is fake that was shown on Facebook. Now let's take a look at another exciting piece of technology. And this guy is using this artificial intelligence to trick his mother. And I've talked a lot about visual fakes. Well, this is audio, which is sound.
I've been using this free piece of software, and essentially what it does is it creates a digital copy of your voice. You use your computer's microphone and you just speak a bunch of preset phrases that they tell you. And now I can type into a text box anything that I want, and it reads it out in my voice. So obviously what I want to do now is I want to try to use this to fool my mom into thinking it's me.
Hi.
Okay, how's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
I only have a second here. Super busy. Just wanted to quickly check in and make sure we are still good for dinner tonight.
Yeah. 8:15.
Okay, sounds good. Text me when you
Okay.
arrive. Sound good?
Oh, great, Charlie. Thank you. I'm
I'm
glad
in
you called.
service right now. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
So there we saw audio. So that was similar to what I showed you earlier with the Chinese news anchor. So what that guy just showed you was he typed in text, and then it was verbally said by artificial intelligence using the voice. So how's fake news spread? Well, part of it is through bots, and there are many bots on Facebook. And what are bots? Well, bots use computer algorithms to decide what articles and information users like. without taking into account the authenticity of the article. So that these bots are just, they don't think the way you and I do. They just look at numbers, zeros and ones, and then send information without analyzing the information. And also bots mass produce and spread articles. They don't care about the credibility of the sources. So as the world gets more technological, work is taken away from humans and given over to artificial intelligence. So that's what happens a lot on Facebook. And of course, there are chat bots on Facebook. So companies, news sources like CNN, if you're in Facebook Messenger and you're asking questions on Facebook Messenger, the reply is not from a human. The reply comes from artificial intelligence or a bot. So what are problems with news in the digital age? Well, we live in our own information bubble. Like I just told you, algorithms and bots are deciding what we see. So if you look at a lot of sports, for example, then you are going to be getting a lot of sports information because the bots have decided that you like sports. Also, what we tend to do is look at news that agrees with our own opinion. So if we only like what the BBC and the Guardian say, then that's what the news we get. And we don't get news from other sources like the Daily Mail or Fox News in America. So how do you spot fake news? Let's just take a look at this video, which I'm just going to show you right now. Nope. Let's do that again. There we go. Please bear with me. It's all new technology. Remember I've been talking about technology? Here we go. Hopefully this will work.
News. We think it's a problem.
I think fake news is a problem because it can influence how people make decisions. It leaves me feeling like I don't know who to believe.
And it worries me that people are growing up misinformed.
And if we're misinformed, how can we understand the world around us? I think it's a problem because it leads to people.
And we begin to mistrust all news sources.
But what exactly is it?
How to spot it?
Fake news is lies and propaganda told for a political or commercial purpose which deploys digital technology, social media, new networks to go viral, to reach around the world and influence millions of people very, very quickly.
So what about news that's just wrong, like when someone's just made a mistake?
Mistakes can be made. Journalists sometimes make mistakes too. Or sometimes you might be reading a story and the headline could be misleading. Or a photo in that story could have been changed in some way. It might even have been changed to make you laugh, to make you want to share it. These stories we wouldn't necessarily call fake news, but they are misleading in some way.
False stories tell us something is real when it's actually not.
What about when someone tells us something is fake or false when it's actually real and true?
If you're a politician who wants to close down debate,
then you might use the phrase fake news if you don't want people to ask you questions about something uncomfortable. And that's a legitimate area for Democrats to inquiry. So it's really important that we're clear about what fake news does and doesn't mean.
You're feeling confused, I'm feeling confused, right? There's all these words, fake news, hoaxes, spin, but in the end, just be aware that not everything you see online is completely true.
It might be helpful to think of it not just in black and white terms, but there's lots of different ways that a story might be misleading or inaccurate, it might be spin, and in all of these situations, it's helpful to step back and just ask yourself, is this likely to be true? Does this feel right? Before you go on and share it on social media and pass that story along.
So there we saw an excellent documentary from the BBC. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. Hopefully that's showing right now. Good. So let's now learn some tools. We're getting to the end of my presentation, so I'll do this quickly. So information is designed to do one of these few things that I'm going to show you, these 6 things. It's designed to sell, to entertain, to provoke, to inform, to document, or to persuade. So what I'm going to do is show you an ad and show you a message, and then you tell me what is it designed to do. So look at this ad for Big Mac. Is it designed to sell, to entertain, or to provoke? Make your decision now. Yep, you're right. It is designed to sell. Now let's take a look at this meme. What is this designed to do? A little bit harder. It's designed to entertain. It's designed to bring a smile to our face. What about this? Teenage boys wear skirts to school to protest against no shorts policy. Is this designed to persuade, to document, or to inform? It's designed to inform. Very good. So now let's continue. And what I want you to do is ask yourselves if the following news story is fake or real. Is this fake or real? Did you make your decision? It's false. Yes, didn't happen. COVID-19 was not found in toilet paper. Now let's take a look at this. Is this story fake or real? Robot becomes head teacher of a school in Wales. Interesting. What do you think? Is that fake or real? It's fake. You're right. This one is fake, which is a shame because a robot head teacher sounds like a lot of fun. Now look at this story. Australia moves. Australia is moving further north, which means people using sat-navs might struggle to find significant landmarks. Is that story fake or real? I think a lot of you are saying that it's fake, but it's not. It's real. Because the Earth is made up of big sections called tectonic plates, and they shift slowly over time, which is why Australia is moving ever so slightly. So that is real. What about this story here? Humboldt penguin breaks into family home. A family in Peru got a shock after a penguin found its way inside their home. The penguin is believed to have been on the search for food. Is that real or fake? Yep, you're right. This is real. The family thought they heard an intruder in their home, but discovered a penguin. The local police came to pick him up and took him to a zoo where he got checked out by vets. So to conclude today's presentation, when you're confronted with fake news or a news story, ask yourself the following things. Look at the source. Where is it coming from? Who is saying this information? Or where did the image come from? Where did the story come from? Where did the ad come from? Then also check the author. Who wrote it? Is it, was it the BBC? Was it somebody credible? Was it David Attenborough writing about penguins? Or was it, Joe Blow in somewhere in Leeds somewhere who's just writing about penguins because they want to? Is it a joke? Remember, I've shown you quite a few examples today of images that are exaggerated and some stories appear as jokes, and it could be a joke. There are some websites that are satirical, and they write things that are considered to be humor, but not everybody realizes that it's humor and thinks it's real. So ask yourself that. And also check the date when this piece of information that you're looking at, this piece of news, was published, because sometimes it could have been created over 7 or 8 years ago and is not something that is being written recently. So make sure you check the date. And if you're really unsure about something, ask your teacher, ask your librarian, ask your mom and dad, ask somebody who you respect and ask their opinion on it, okay? So there you've been hearing about fake news, and I talked about different ways of creating news and also let you guys sort of understand where you can see fake news and, you know, things like advertising as well as reviews on products on companies like Amazon are also fake or could be fake. So you just need to question when you see things. So my name's Karl Jones. It's been a great pleasure speaking to you. And I work at the University of Westminster, which is here in London. And these are some of the students that I work with. And I teach public relations and advertising. And we study things like fake news, actually. I discuss that with my students. And also at Westminster, we have journalism, digital media, radio, fashion, art. So things in the creative media. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know sort of a little bit about my background. And thank you very much for inviting me into your homes today, digitally, of course. And now I'm going to answer some questions that you have.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Karl. So one of the questions that we've had submitted is, have you ever fallen for fake news?
Great question. Yes, I have. Let me think of when I've fallen for it. I think I've done it through advertising. I bought some products that I've seen on Instagram, and I ended up getting the product and then got it mailed to my house, and it was nothing like what was advertised. So yes, I've fallen for like fake advertising, let's say, and fake news. I'm sure I have. I just don't have an example right now.
Fantastic. Another very popular question is fake news illegal?
Great question. There's, remember I talked about satire and humor, and so it's a very sort of fine line when news is, you know, shared, and is it being a satire or not. There's a situation happening right now with the social media companies, and what they're trying to do is stop fake news. I haven't heard of anybody being put in jail because they're writing fake news, because we are allowed to express ourselves and what we think. But we should not be spreading lies. And so what they're doing is they're going after the places where people are publishing this fake news. And most of that is on social media sites.
Fantastic. Another question, just thinking about your own journey and your own career, Karl. You've been asked what or who inspired you?
Oh, wow. Great question. My career journey, I always found that I was good at expressing myself creatively. So I always liked doing drawings. I always liked doing acting. And I discovered that I could take those talents that I had and make money from it through the career of advertising. So I trained myself in college to be an art director. So that was sort of what I did, because I like media, I watched television, I like seeing newspapers, I like reading books, and it was something that I enjoyed doing, and I wanted to create, you know, and I found a way of making money creating.
Fantastic. And another question is, what advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I would trust in myself, I think. Do what I want, do what you want, you know, I would say that to me. And don't let other people stop you from doing what you want. If you have it in your heart and you want to do something, then do it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's your life and you're the one that has to live it. Nobody else does. So be true to yourself and do what you want. you know, and think about you, care about you, love yourself, and just go with the flow and do what you want. That's my main message.
Fantastic. And Terence, 2 more questions. Will there be jobs in the future, or are there any jobs now which help spot fake news or help to create bots which spot fake news? And if so, what kind of salary might people expect in those roles?
Well, it's interesting. I think with what's happening now with the pandemic, we're discovering what types of careers are important and essential. And what we're discovering is technology is very important. You know, a lot of us are using our phones, our computers, Wi-Fi, television to access information. So careers in that are important. And if you're into sort of communicating and stopping fake news, then companies like Facebook and YouTube are hiring people to sort of to search out fake news, because, you know, technology is not searching out fake news. They need to hire humans who to collaborate and make sure if something's fake or not. So those are, I think, social media and communication channels and news are areas where this idea of fake news checking, I think, are important and growing. And of course, understanding things like coding, how to write codes, software, how to read and understand data are going to be important careers in the future as we become more technological. Like I told you today, new technologies are being invented and they're going to continue to be invented. So just understanding how those technologies work and adjusting them to our society are going to be quite important. And regarding money, it depends on the career, the job, the company, you know, but I would assume that there's good monies and good careers in those areas because they're growing. And knowledge is important. So if you get educated in those careers, companies will be hiring you because of what you have here in your head.
Fantastic. And the last question is, do you like football? And if yes, which is your favorite team?
Soccer. I moved to Canada and they don't use the word football there. They use it for the other type, right? But soccer, football, soccer. And then I lived in Mexico and the British took soccer there. And my whole life, there's when I was young, I liked Everton, but then when I became 8 years of age, I really liked Georgie Best, and he worked for Manchester United, and I've been a Manchester United fan for a very long time. And also I like Barcelona as well.
Fantastic, that's great. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. A huge thank you to everyone who tuned in. We do have a short feedback form for viewers to complete, which has just been shared in the Q&A thread. For those of you who are completing the activity sheet for your school or college, the colour for this talk is amber. Do be sure to look out for future virtual talks on the Speakers to Schools website. And Karl, thank you so much for making the time to join us today and giving us such an insightful presentation. I really think that our students and viewers got a lot from that, and we look forward to sharing that on the website as a recording in due course.
Excellent. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you guys very much, and you have a great day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.